Charles, and I've been coming to Restoration Church with my wife and my son since January 2020. We had just moved from Las Vegas to San Diego and were searching for a new church when we found Restoration. For the most part, we attended regularly and participated in church activities, and we even made some connections with other people at the church. Then COVID hit, and things began to change. Restoration Church shifted more towards online services, and our engagement started to drop. At the same time, my wife and I also started facing trials that challenged our marriage and dredged up buried wounds from the past. My relationship with Christ began to fracture and eventually collapsed altogether. I felt like God had abandoned me and wasn't listening to my calls for help. So I started to rely less on God and more on myself. With each new trial, I drifted further away from Christ and the church and became more and more negative and closed-minded. Before I knew it, I had grown into a person that I did not want to be and was not setting a good example for my son, who was now starting to notice my behavior and actions. I knew it was time for a change. Based on past attempts, I knew that I was bound to fail if I didn't do things differently. So I made the decision to start small and simply just make an honest attempt to show up every Sunday for service. I wouldn't set any expectations other than just attending with an open heart and mind and listening for whatever message God was trying to communicate to me. I kept showing up, and after attending a few services, I began to feel a change happening within me. I actually started to enjoy coming to church again and looked forward to the following Sunday. However, I also realized that attending service wasn't enough. I found myself falling back into my old ways midway through the week. Searching for new ways to get involved, I reached out to Pastor Kurt and Kevin Clem for advice, and their advice was simple and straightforward. Get plugged into a life group and consider serving. Pastor Kurt suggested Alpha, and I signed up right away. But when it came to serving, I was a bit more hesitant because of where I was at spiritually at that time. I didn't feel like I would be a good representative of the church, but since Pastor Kurt trusted me enough to recommend it, I figured it must be what God wanted me to do, and I signed up and began serving on the First Impressions team. Fast forward to today, a few months have gone by, and I have been regularly attending service as well as my life group and regularly volunteering. In the span of a few short months, I have felt God transform my life. I'm no longer the bitter and negative person I used to be, and my faith is growing stronger daily. While I am nowhere near the finish line in terms of who I want to be and where I want to go as a Christian, I am on my way, and what made things different this time was my decision to be honest and transparent, and to be consistent and keep showing up while trusting in God and where He was leading me.